Because I know how it goes. I know some of you've come out this evening because, you already know you like me. And that's great. That's aces. I love that. That's a very straightforward relationship. But there will be others in the room who have been brought here because someone they know likes me. That's a much more precarious dynamic, because now how well your night goes hinges on an external factor, which is me. And that's a totally unreasonable amount of pressure to put on me. I don't want anything to do with your business. I don't give a shit about you guys. I just want to do my little jokes, and and that's the plan. So, I'm trying to say thank you for clapping. And before the clapping, I suppose it would have to be a big thank you for coming, because the clapping would be no good without the coming, And you'd look daft, because you'd be out on the street going like that. And I go, what are you doing? You go, I was thinking of seeing a show around this time. Felt pretty good. Maybe I'll go tomorrow. No, yeah, it's I think it's going to be fun. I've been working on this show for a little while, and it's a good show, but it's not perfect. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm even now I'm filming it. This has been committed to celluloid. Even so, I'm still getting under the hood, tinkering, moving stuff around and whatnot. And tonight you will get to witness the launch of some exciting new sentences. and if you play your cards right, you could also be at the funeral of the very same sentences. Which isn't an altogether unfamiliar life cycle for a sentence. Most sentences live as they die. Very few sentences enter the pantheon of idioms or turns of phrase, which is what you'd have to assume sentences aspire to be. Because like letters, you'd assume letters would aspire to be words, yeah? And words, of course, would aspire to be sentences. And for the words I'm saying right now, that dream has just become a reality. And I'm not saying that every sentence is brand new. Like not everything, every sentence we say is usually a variation on a theme. There's a lot of repetition in conversation. Like you must have overheard other people having a conversation before and thought, nah, you don't got to worry about that. I talked about that last week. That's done, baby. Move on. Whereas I do like conversation. Like I like being in them. I like listening to them. I like going to a party. And at a party, you've basically got to pick a party. You've got two routes. You can either, talk to someone and know an entity, or you can roll the dice, take a punt on a grunt. And I love to do that. I'll talk to a stranger at a party. I'll be talking to a new person, but I'll still be listening, scouting for other conversations. And what I find happens, I'll be over here 30, 45 seconds, and it doesn't take long to realise you're talking to a fizzer. So I'll be over here talking to someone, but I'll be listening around, seeing what's happening. And over there, it looks like there's some big laughs happening over there. It looks like they're getting into something pretty interesting over there. And I'll be sort of a minute in now, I'll be thinking, well, this is just my luck. Obviously, I'm talking to these single worst conversationalists at the party. This is a total dead shit. And I don't have time for it anymore. I just cut ties. I get out of there. I say, I got to go. And I'll go over there where the laughs are happening. But what I find happens to me quite often is I'll get over there, where the laughs were happening, and the conversation sort of slows down. It almost grinds to a halt. Then I look back over there where I was. That dead shit I was just talking to, he's killing. Big laughs over there now. And I find it happens to me at most parties. Every single person I talk to, it's just dud after dud after dud. And I'm not a very introspective person, so I've not yet got to the bottom of it. But I'll figure it out. Don't worry about me. I think the issue is, every conversation looks interesting until you can hear it. I think that's true, because even today, so I've been having a very good time here in Brisbane. I've been trying to enjoy the local amenities. I've been going for a lot of walk. You've got a lot of promenades down by the water. You've got a lot of walkways, and you've got to have the walkways, because if you didn't have those, you wouldn't be able to see just how brown you got your river. How'd you get it so brown? You're the talk of the river community. Yeah. But it was actually yesterday, I was walking down by the river pass. I don't know what suburb it is, but there's like a pub or something called Regatta. I don't know if it's a pub or a club. Yeah, we got some enthusiasts for regatta here, and there were some enthusiasts there too. Outside, out the front, there were like 6 to 8 big guy. You know, like there's a subgenre of guys in Australia who spend all their spare time seeing how strong they can get. Like they just, all their spare time they pour into just like trying to get their skin so taut across the muscle, like they're stretching a canvas, you know. And once they're satisfied that they've stretched the canvas, they'll go into the tattoo parlour and they'll say, could you please draw the worst thing you can think of down here? And then they congregate in groups, and it's terrifying because they're all, you know, they're big guys, they're all hanging out. They look like professional athletes, only they've got nothing to lose. And there were like 6 or 8 fellas outside the regatta having big laughs, you know. They were all standing around in a group, looked like they were getting out of there. And I was kind of interested in what they were talking about, so I slowed down my walk and I paused my music on my phone. So my headphones weren't even actually performing their job as headphones anymore. They were performing the job of cloak. So I could hear their conversation, and it looked like it was all laughs, but they were actually bullying one of their own. They were bullying this guy who was on his phone. We assumed trying to leave, and they're going to him, oh, Greg, this is what they're saying. They're saying, oh, Greg's pussy whipped. They're saying that, and I was thinking, oh, come on, Greg. You know, one of the last things you'd want to be in front of these guys is pussy whipped. You got to be out of your mind, you know. But they don't stop there either. They started saying other stuff. Another one then said, oh, Greg's missus has his man card. Oh, Greg's missus has his man card. I mean, it is just mistake after mistake with this guy, Greg. You know, I would never give my missus my man card. No way, Jose. This actually is a huge part of my identity. It's how I remember. You know, I'll forget. I take it out and I go, oh yeah, that's right, and I'll put it back in. You know. Because I only just found out I am a man. And there was a long time I thought I was still boy. But it turns out I have become man. And I found out that, you know, and I'm as surprised as any of you. Who would have thought me? A fella named Guy. And I found out the same way I think a lot of people find out. I was at the grocery store. I was shopping for the ingredients for a humble pie. I was going to bake up a little humble pie to feed my haters. No, that one is a joke. I would never feed my haters. No, I was actually shopping shampoo. And whenever I buy shampoo, I always buy the same shampoo. I buy anti-dandruff shampoo so that everyone else in the store knows my policy on dandruff. Which is against, you know, and I know there'll be some pro-druffers in, but that's not my scene. I like my scalps oiled. And so I'm shopping shampoo, and then just down the way there's a mum shopping with 2 young kids, I guess about 7 or 9. And I don't know what she's shopping for, but the kids are running amok. They're not interested in it. They're pulling stuff off the shelves. They're throwing it both hither and thither. And so, you know, and then they get bored of that and they start doing little like time trials, little sprints up and down the aisle. And it looks like quite a lot of fun, you know, and I'm damn certain I could waste them. But yeah, you know, I resist the urge to join in. But then they start doing the whole aisle. They start doing a sprint where they're covering the whole aisle and they're running as fast as their little bodies can carry them. They're really hoofing it. And the mum clocks it at the last second and she yells out, "Hey boys, look out for that man!" You know, and so on instinct, I spin around. I'm trying to figure out which sinister figure we need to look out for, you know. Who's trying to get their grubby little mitts on our hot little asses? Absolutely devastated to discover that I am that man. Yeah, because I'm telling you, I could have sworn I was boy. And I wouldn't lie about this, you know. You ask anyone who knows me, there was a long time at the start, it looked like all I was going to be was boy. Sort of first 11, 12 years. I'm only 35 now. That's over a third of my life. Can anyone beat that? A third of their life a boy? Yeah. Didn't fucking think so. Yeah. King boy up here. I'm king of the boys. Yeah, move over, Tutankhamun. There's a new king boy in town. I only just found out about this guy, Tutankhamun. You know about this guy? Yeah? 8-year-old boy, they made him the king of Egypt. It was a while ago, but still, big gig. 8 years old, huge gig. You know, I didn't know a damn thing about irrigation when I was 8, but it looks like he got away with it. You know, Egypt's still there. But honestly, the old Tutankhamun, it doesn't really impress me. You know, any boy can become a king if they know the right people. That is nepotism right there. That's what that is, you know. And it's hard to say when the change happens. I find it's probably puberty that really sorts the men from the boys. I will actually say, and I wasn't really doing this in the show, but as we're taping it, you'd roll the dice. You'd tell the anecdote. Because I grew up in a house, we didn't really talk about like sex and sexuality or puberty or anything when I was growing up. But I still remember one day we were at I was at the grocery store with my mum, and we were next to the broccoli. I remember she was putting a head of broccoli into the. I would have been like 11 or 12. She was putting a broccoli into the trolley, and she looks at me. And then she looks away and she goes, "You grown any pubic hair yet?" And I, just out of the blue, and I don't know. And she says, "Well, when you grow one, you tell me, I'll buy you a chocolate bar." You go, "What?" So I never told her, as far as she knows, I'm still smooth as marbles down there. I just think it's disappointing to be, not just a man, but to be a grown-up, because as grown-ups, we're on the wrong side of history. Like, I don't know if you read a book about the baddies, but they're nearly always adults. You're not going to read a whole book about how a kid was bad. And it's hard, it's crazy to me, because you talk to any parent and they'll tell you every child's a miracle. And I'm not calling those parents liars, but it seems statistically unlikely to me. Because nearly every adult I've met is a total fucking disaster. And so something is getting lost in translation, Well, I just think, to be a grown-up, for me specifically, to be a grown-up is a disappointment. Because when I was young, I had aspirations to be a giant. I was obsessed with giants. I always looked up to them, and it was my dream to just keep growing tall. But it doesn't happen. We just stop, and it's crazy because for how prominently giants feature in human mythology and stuff, you'd think you'd come across one in your life, and I've not. And you'd assume also they'd be easy to spot on account of their size. And I'm looking out this evening. We've got a full house in here. We've got a lot of people, but I don't see any giants. And we all look like unless we got some teens in, they could still be growing. They could yet be a giant. We got any teens in? I'm not a cop. Not a cop, also not a pedophile, the big two. Now, have we got any teens in? Oh, we do. Whoa. So you guys could become giants. You know that, eh? Are any of you tall for your age? No? You don't know? Maybe, do you want me to stop talking to you? I can do it. You got a lot of witnesses. I'm on really thin ice here. Yeah. Is it fun being a teenager these days? Yeah? Oh, that's cool. Are you guys worried about how hot it is? Only some of the time, hey. Because you can't worry all the time. Because then it wouldn't be fun. Anyway, and I'm not saying that people don't get tall. Like, people get tall, and they look tall, but it's always to scale to another person, right? Like, you're walking down the street, you see someone who's 7 foot, they look tall. And sure, they look really tall on land, but you take a 7-footer down to the ocean, you introduce them to a blue whale, and you go, this is pretty big for us. You're going to get laughed out of the place. And look, I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's what would happen. And here's some insult to injury. I just found out the ocean, by the way, is still getting bigger. Whoa! Greedy guts? What are greedy guts? Already got 2/3 of the place and still want more, huh? How big is your tummy? The ocean? He's changing the conversation. He's turning the tide on all this, don't you know? Because you guys are an intelligent room. You guys are an intelligent room. You must be aware of the long-standing battle between water and land for who will control the earth. And you got to admit, we put a lot of our eggs in the land basket. Now, there could have been an error. And I tell you, he's turning the tide on all this, don't you? He's changing the conversation. It's ice. So I thought ice was on our side. It turns out ice has been water the whole time. What a betrayal. What a turncoat ice turned out to be. I drink my enemy. I just think we're so downtrodden by this state of affairs, that we don't even have new giants in pop culture. Like the most famous giants in the world now aren't even people. The most famous giant in the world now is not a person. It's that dog. That big red dog. The guy. He's Clifford. Yeah, you got it. Now, I'll tell you, here's a funny thing about Clifford. When he was born, he wasn't even big. He was red, but no one thought that was interesting. Everyone was just like, oh, well, maybe that's how dogs are now, But then he got big, and all of a sudden everyone's bringing up the fact he's red again, like that's new information. I'll admit, I don't know everything about him. I've not read the books. They're too long. However, what I would like to read is a book about this guy's genealogy. I'd like to read a book where you got the mama dog, and she's talking to the papa dog, and she's saying, I'm telling you, I didn't fuck no giant dog, And the papa dog saying, well, I don't know what to tell you, Marion. I'm a border collie. I'm not even red. I got like one red bit, Because all the boy dogs have got the one red bit. Yeah, and it's a striking colour. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's an unforgettable hue, and yet you cannot buy it anywhere. No corporations had the self-confidence. You can't go into a paint shop and get a test pot to see how it looks in the bathroom. No. If anything, I think it should be a lipstick. I think it should come in a furry little tube, and you twist it up. And it's got a bulbous tip. You put it on. It looks good. Your friends say, wow, you look fantastic. What are you wearing? Oh, this is Dog Dick by Maybelline. They wouldn't call it Dog Dick. The hard-working people at Maybelline, they call it something a little classier. They call it like Le Bit de Chien, which, it's the same thing in French. It's a disgusting language. And so long as we're talking Maybelline, at your insistence, might I add, if it turns out she was born with it, they got some nerve putting their name in the mix. That's all I'm saying. Arguably not a critical mass of Maybelline fans in for that joke to truly soar this evening. If you don't remember Maybelline, they had a long-running ad campaign, and the slogan was, maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. One of the few cosmetics giants to build their ad strategy around the idea the model might not be using the product. And the thing for me is it never made a jot of difference. Like all of the models were so strikingly beautiful. Who cares what they're wearing? You never saw Maybelline film an ad in a rural bakery at 9:30 on a Tuesday morning being like, we also take responsibility for these people. And you couldn't make those ads anymore. All the ads are different now. I don't know who's to blame. I'm assuming it's one of you snitches. You gone out and told multinational conglomerates about the climate crisis, and you got a lot to answer for, because now they've all lost their minds. They don't even have the courage to sell me their products direct. All their ads are telling me what they're doing on the back end. Like, I give two shits. I just want to buy something, And actually, I know that, you guys, you got a federal election here in Australia next year, is that right? Maybe? Year after? I'm just curious, I'm always trying to figure out my crowd. Show of hands, next federal election, who's voting for the Liberals? Disappointing. Honestly, it's a little disappointing, because I'm trying to get in this cashed up crowd. And every year, I keep getting you broke-ass, cuckold communist scum. You come out for a laugh at Montgomery, then you go home, watch someone else fuck your spouse in your share house. It is embarrassing. Grow up! All I'm saying is, it's getting confusing when Nestle are telling us what they're doing for the environment. Every ad now is just a big company going, do you know about the climate? You go, yeah. We just found out, yeah. All I'm saying is, it's gone wonky when Nestle are telling us about what they're doing for the environment. Don't pretend you care. Like Nestle, these are some of the famous, they're the worst. You guys got Nestle here, right? Yeah. Have you ever bought something? Yeah. That's the thing. They do good stuff. But, like these are bad guys. And arguably the worst thing they did, or one of, they bought up a lot of water reserves a while ago in North America, and then they bottle the water, they sell it back to the community at prices they couldn't afford. And now if you look at their ad materials for their drinks and all their bottles, it's all like, they're all trumpeting the fact their bottles are made from 100% recyclable materials. Like, that makes a difference. It feels a lot like Nestle saying, well, here at the Nestle Corporation, we may have been raw dogging the environment for the last 157 years, but did you hear now we are wearing a condom? Oh, that's perfect. Thank you, Nestle. What a relief. As we all lie on our collective deathbed riddled with venereal disease. Just in time. Even gambling ads have lost their, I've been watching sports lately, and gambling corporations, they like to advertise in the sports. They're buying 30-second TV spots for ads, and they're only spending 25 seconds advertising gambling, and then the last 5 seconds they're distancing themselves from gambling. Just believe in yourselves, honestly. So 25 seconds of two guys having the best day of their lives, they're making money, they're sacking piss, they're high-fiving, and then 5 seconds, black screen, white text, you win some, you lose more. Okay, you don't know me. I am a sensational gambler, because the way I look at gambling is, I only stand to lose what I have. I could make infinity. If you've got this information, it's actually reckless not to gamble. Restaurants can't just be restaurants. They're telling you what they're up to. There was a place I was eating at. I was in Melbourne for a month, and there's a place I go to regularly. It was like a takeaway Japanese spot. Before you could even get through the front door, they had a big decal on the front window with their stated goal or mission statement. And it said, "Our goal is simple. To redefine what it means to eat." This is an unbelievably complex goal. This is snubbing your nose at millennia of human evolution. If you're a restaurant, I'd say ground floor. Your goal really would be sell food to the customer at a profit. That's the ground floor. And then what happens once the customer's bought the food? I'm sorry to tell you, it's not really up to you. If you sell someone a sushi roll and then come around the counter and you see them feeding it up their own asshole, not only is that not your business, it's certainly not your intellectual property. That's their hard work. You might have encouraged them, but they figured that out themselves. I just don't know what's going on, because it's all the same people writing the ads. It's always been, it's a group of exceedingly well compensated sort of 24 to 64-year-olds who are figuring out how to sell me a hamburger in between cocaine binges. And I got no problems with that. I like to be told to buy a hamburger as much as the next person. I'm just worried. I think they haven't moved with the times with respect to their drugs. I don't think that cocaine is a good match for the ad industry anymore, because cocaine will give you a lot of confidence in your bad ideas and anxiety in between. I just think they've got to start looking at the world from a new angle to reflect the changing times. And I'd like to say, earmuffs for the kids here. I tried over the new year just been. I tried a brand new drug, a drug I'd never tried in my life before. I tried a drug called ketamine. Now, if you don't know, ketamine is, as it turns out, it's actually a horse tranquilizer. So this is not a drug to be taken recreationally. When I did it very serious. And I'm not a monster. I would never take ketamine in the company of a conscious horse. Before I even looked at it, I went around the whole block. I made sure all the horses were sleeping. I went, easy, girl, easy. Easy. And once all the horses were sleeping, I thought, down a little for me, why not? I've earned it. I just tucked in like 12 horses, yeah. And it was crazy. It was just like Cancer World on a whole new angle. You're living on a lead, it's kind of fascinating. But the whole time I was on it, all I could think about were the horses. Because imagine that, your whole life, you're a horse, and just when you're at the end of your life, you're on the way to the knackery or whatever to be glue or food, some guy comes up to you with a plate and says, scrape together a line of that, so you get your hooves out, and you hoover it up, and then just when they're on the way down, they're going, what? No, not now, but I'm just figuring it out, It's no way to treat an animal. Yeah, and I say this for people who work in advertising, and I say this with no disrespect intended. I do not respect people who work in advertising. And that's with no disrespect intended. But what I will say, I'm proud to conceptually at least understand their job, which I can't say for all jobs. And their job is to tell me what to buy. And in that sense, I'm grateful, because if it weren't for them, it never would have occurred to me to buy anything. And I kind of conceptually understand like the game of life jobs. The jobs you learn about when you're a kid. You see them like on cards, like doctor or astronaut, teacher. I just like to ask, you guys must. Do you remember the first time you saw a teacher, you're still at school and you saw a teacher out of context? Like you see a teacher at the grocery store and you think, no. No, absolutely not. No, look, if you're hungry, I'll bring you a sandwich at school, but this is where the people shop. But I know what they're doing when they go to work. I also say that for business. I've actually always been a bit vague on businessmen. I think even businessmen don't know what they're doing. You go up to a businessman, you say, "What do you actually do?" They go, "It's business, man." Yeah. And when you're a kid, it's aspirational to be a businessman. You think, wow, but you don't know that the needle goes both ways. They could be doing bad business. When you grow up, you actually learn businessman as a euphemism for white-collar sex criminal. But I can sort of get my head around those jobs. The jobs I don't understand really are like all of the modern jobs. I don't understand any of my friends who don't work in the arts or have a trade or one of those jobs. I don't know what the workforce is doing anymore. I don't know what, like sometimes on a Tuesday I want to hang out with a friend and I'll send them a text. I'll be like, do you want to hang out? And they'll be like, no, I can't. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. My sister, she's worked as a business analyst for 10 years. I don't know what's happening day to day. I don't know what she's doing in there. I know her name is Annie, and I know she calls herself a business Annie list, and I like that. That's nice. But I don't know what she's doing. I can paint like a soft focus kind of watercolor image of what I think the workforce does, though. Like I can actually, before I even get into that, I can tell you one thing we all do. I think this is a great unifier. One thing that everyone does every day. You did it today. We all pick out some clothes. We all dress ourselves. We all pick out the clothes that we wear. And I just think that's a lovely thought. Every day you choose out some clothes and you look at them and you think, yeah, I'm a little bit like that. And you put them on, then you head out into the world. And it doesn't matter how long you've been practicing. I've been practicing for 35 years. Some days I get out there and I'm in the world and I look at what I'm wearing and I think, nah, I'm not like this. Oh, fuck this, I hate this. And you see it on other people too. You see other people walking down the street and you think, whoa, buddy, long day, huh? It's a long day. It's a long day to be in the wrong clothes. At work, they make it a little easier for you because it's a bit more prescriptive. So what you wear, it's probably not exactly what your employer would like you to wear. And it's probably not exactly what you want to wear. So you put on this outfit that no one has asked for. And then you go, this is just my guess, and then you go in, right? This is... in the morning you go in the clothes, you go into the big building, and there'll be other like-minded people there in the clothes too, and you turn it on, you turn on the machine, yeah? Stop me if I lose you. You turn it on, and there'll be emails, all right, yeah? You'll be receiving them, and if you know what you're doing, you'll be sending them as well, and so that's the workforce. What I would like to know is, has anyone here ever not gone into work one day? You didn't go into work, you took a mental health day or a sick day, whatever, you ever done that? Yeah? And what happened? Did the company keep going? Yeah? Pretty demoralising. What are you doing in there? They don't need you. So even the jobs I thought I understood, aren't quite what I thought. Like when you're a kid, I thought the doctor was so straightforward. You go to the doctor and it's their job to patch you up. You go to the GP, they sort you out, they give you a lollipop, they send you on your way. And their life looks so clean cut to me. You get home, they got like a kid, a cat, a car, a partner, they got one of everything. But then, now I'm old enough, I'm friends with some people who are doctors, and the behind the scenes is not what I imagine. Like It's so much grittier. You know, like some of the doctors I know are introducing me to ketamine, and you'd figure you need to know a vet for that. But it's best, you don't have to worry too much about the workforce because we'll all be out of a job soon because we're making all the technology smart, so we can finally take a couple of plays off. And we're getting it all so smart. All the technology's smart now. You can get a smart heater. You know, you get a heater so smart, you tell the heater what temperature you would like it to be, and the heater would be like, nah, you wouldn't like that. And, you know, and you wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for the heater. Like, I bought a brand new TV this year, first time in my life. I bought a smart TV. I had no idea the TV I've been running around with the last 8 years was an idiot. But my phone is probably the smartest piece of technology I have. You know, it's got all these little bespoke apps on it and stuff. You know, you open them up, they do different things. And sometimes I open up an app that I haven't used in a couple of months because I want to, you know, like use that. And I open it up and the app will be like to me, will say, oh, hey guy, what's up? Before you use me, what is your password? And I think, well, what are you asking me for? You know, I'm sure I told you. You can't negotiate with these guys, you know. So I'll put in what I think the password might be, and then the phone will be like, "Nah, it's not that." You go, "Oh, okay. So you do know." But, you know. So what are you going to do? So I punch in some variation on a theme. I might change a letter for a number or some other horse shit like that. You know, and it doesn't work. And eventually the phone will be like, you got to hit that forgot password button. So, you know, you hit that, and now the phone's got you where it wants you. Now you're in the phone's pocket, and the phone's, oh, well, so long as we're both here. I've been struggling with a little bit of my phone homework lately. I was thinking you might like to tell me which of these images have stairs in them. You know? What do? I don't know. I just put it down. You know, I don't want to deal with it. Do you ever do that? Do you ever just put your phone down? Just to see what your brain might actually like you to think about. A lot of time I'll be walking around and my brain will be like... Will be pretty nice to be on phone. No, you can't. Yeah, I try to stay off phone because I'm trying to think of a thought. I just feel like I've got to come up with one thought. But it's hard. I mean, a lot of the time lately, I find I've just been thinking about fish because I've been vegetarian for the last 9 years, but I recently stopped because I accidentally remembered that animals are yum, and if you're trying not to eat animals, this would be damn near the last thing you want to remember. And so I try to allay my guilt by thinking, well, you know, maybe the smart ones don't get caught, but I've seen the documentaries. Even those guys don't stand a chance. But it feels different for fish, right? You know, because with fish, if I was in my day-to-day life, I was just walking down the street like that, you know, and then a sandwich just suddenly appears in front of me, no context, just a sandwich there. I would never eat that sandwich. You know, so that's how I know I'm smarter than a fish. And once you start thinking fish, you'll be surprised. They show up everywhere. I'm staying in a hotel while I'm here. It's got a little peephole in the door. And you ever think about this? Why is this peephole always from the perspective of a fish? Huh? Like, why? Why, when it comes to our home security, are we, the apex predator, suddenly going, okay, now, what would a fish do in this scenario? You know, I mean... It's ridiculous. And every other idiom, every second idiom's fish-based. You know, you got bigger fish to fry, big fish, small pond, different kettle of fish, drinks like a fish in a barrel, fish out of water. We've even got a saying for when someone would like to talk about the price of fish and their conversational partner keeps changing the topic. And you go, well, what's that got to do with the price of fish? I mean, I will concede that one's not really in circulation as much as it once was. I mostly hear it when I'm saying it at parties, trying to reroute otherwise high-functioning conversations to my preferred topic, you know, but that wasn't always a tired turn of phrase. There was a time that burst onto the scene, you know. There was a time that saying was born, and you'd have to assume it was someone who was shopping for fish. So, you know, they're down at the fish market or whatever, and they go to the fishmonger and they say, how much is it for half a kilo of barramundi? And the fishmonger goes, oh, yeah, the barramundi. Yeah, it's a great eating fish. And I tell you, it was a good catch. I actually had a good time catching that, and I needed it too. Just because, and I'm not one to complain. I've got a great life, but it's just, I've been married for 5 years, mind you, and happily so. But the last 4 of them, my wife and I, we've been trying for baby, and just to no avail. And we tried everything, and we were ready to turn our back. And what's that saying from that Batman movie? The night is always darkest before the dawn. So we were ready to turn our back on having this baby. And it's all, just as we were giving up, all of a sudden, miracle of miracles, she falls pregnant. And it was a healthy pregnancy and healthy mum and bub. And we count our stars. I just think we spend so long of our lives wanting a baby, this idea of a baby. We didn't account for the reality of having the baby, because the baby's not sleeping, so we're not sleeping, and we don't want to take it out on the baby. So truth be told, it feels a lot like we're taking it out on each other. And I walk around the house someday. I'm in a melee. I can't look at the baby without wanting to scream. I can't look at my wife without seething with resentment. This woman who's given me everything I want. I don't know where to take myself. I shut in the bathroom. I can't even look in the mirror because I hate the person who's looking back at me. He's not the man I want to be. I don't just cry. I cry for hours. I just sitting there crying and crying. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I guess for me the question, what's that got, what's that got to do with anything? I forget the saying, but I just say we've got to treat fish with a little more respect. I think the most disrespectful thing we do to fish. What about this? The only time we start charging real money for fish is once we've taken away all their utility. You get them above water, you put them on ice, you go, now you're fucking worth something. You fish. No idea about that guy's life. No idea what was going on down there on his day. He could have been on his way to a big meeting. A little suit and tie. Flapping around, launching some big new product, in the boardroom, running game, being like, okay, Margaret, let's talk marketing. What's the rollout strategy? When are we ready to go live? Sean, accounts, talk to me. I want to see some spreadsheets. Ian, did you order catering? No? What's that sandwich doing there then, eh? Gone, dead. And for what? For a dry dinner? No respect. Thanks for staying with me through the fish stuff. I actually had a dream initially that the whole show would be fish material, but it didn't have the legs. It's a complicated feeling when arguably the worst joke of the show gets the biggest clap. Truth be told, I have been trying to write more material about, the relationship between humankind and animal kind, because I think it's quite timeless. I think a lot of the greatest art created across all mediums has been about that relationship. And there's some art that you probably wouldn't even know about is about animals. There's some art that you probably wouldn't even know is about animals, that is. Like, for example, a lot of people don't know this. Did you know that John Mayer actually wrote the song Your Body is a Wonderland from the perspective of a mosquito? A lot of people don't know that. And I've always been jealous of musicians. How at their gigs they'll be tuning up between songs. They're going down, 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 down. Now this little song I wrote when I was doing this, and as comedians we don't get that luxury. We don't need to tell you how we wrote the jokes, but that is a little joke I wrote when I was actually at home. I was in Auckland. I was in the botanical gardens, and I had a day to myself. I had a day off, and it stays in the room. But what I'd done is I'd taken half a tab of the illegal drug LSD, and I was having quite a relaxing day. I was really looking at the grass, thinking about the grass. Thinking about how the grass eats light. Really blown away by the grass. And then I was lying on this bed of grass and I was thinking, whoa, this is crazy. And I was lying there and my eyes were shut and I could just feel on my leg, there's just a little mosquito zooming around. And instead of the usual response of being like, yeah, get out of here, you mosquito, I thought, well, I tell you, I reckon they're going to be absolutely loving this. And that's nice, isn't it? Because you never think about it from the perspective of the mosquito. That's the thing. You know, I'm not advocating for drugs at all, but you know, you take the right one or the right. It can just recontextualize things that otherwise, you know, like it's, you know, we take so much of our life. It's so boring. We get bogged down in the minutiae and the monotony. But you know, things are interesting. You talk to a kid, that's why talking to kids is interesting, because they're colliding with new information all the time. There's a great sense of wonderment at everything, and I count myself lucky. I'm actually, and I haven't really talked about this in my stand-up before, but I'm actually a step parent, and I met my stepdaughter Olive when she was 2. She is now 8. And, I've also actually aged by an increment of 6. She's grown up so fast, but she'll never catch me. And it's a funny thing, being a step-parent. It's not what anyone plans for in life, You don't know it's going to happen. You fall in love with whoever you fall in love with, and if they have children or a family, you absorb them into whatever version of a family you choose. And for me, that's being a step-parent. And I say this with total sincerity. It's the single most rewarding part of my life. I love it so much. But I think the hardest part, actually, about being a step-parent is finding a family to break up. I kid. No. Yeah, find the right family. They will have done it themselves. It's a funny thing, though, because, in being a step-parent, you look around and there'll be step-parents, there'll be step-children in the room. It's so prevalent, like every other family is a blended family now. And yet there's no real public discourse. There's no representation. It's not really in movies or TV or whatever. It's never been in stand-up that I've seen, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about it. And like the main example of a stepdad I still get given in a movie is Liam Neeson in Love Actually. I don't know if you remember. Beautiful stepdad in Love Actually. But I don't know if you saw the sequel to that film, Taken. Even the best take their eye off the ball from time to time. When I was writing the show, I was trying to find examples of stepdads in pop culture, and I was Googling around, and there weren't a lot, but there was a lot of, there were a lot of articles written by journalists about their experience growing up as a stepchild or being a step-parent, different techniques, and they'd link to books. And all of a sudden, without realising, I started reading a book about like step-parenting theory or, techniques or whatever. I was doing it for a couple of hours. Chelsea, my girlfriend, came in and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, that's pretty funny." I was trying to find like stepdads in movies, but actually, as it turns out, I'm reading a book on step-parenting techniques. And Chelsea said, "Well, that is pretty funny because you've been a stepdad to Olive for 6 years now, and literally the first time it's occurred to you to read anything about it is for one of your little jokes." She's not covered in glory in this anecdote either, I said, "How many books on step-parenting have you read?" "Yeah, nothing." "Well, that's what I thought. Must be nice." "Oh, yeah. Must be very nice to rest on the laurels of your unconditional biological love, you piece of shit." Why don't you come down in the trenches, put in a real shift like me? Because I'm not just a stepdad. No. I'm the dad who stepped up to parent alongside Olive's incredibly doting, loving, and present biological dad. Yeah. She's got 2 dads. Yeah. Well, we don't fuck or nothing, which it does feel like a missed opportunity, but yeah. That joke sort of started as an ad-lib about a month ago, and now that this is going to be put on the internet, it will probably end as a semi-serious sit-down chat with the guy. And all going well. He's actually amazing. I really credit him and Chelsea. They've worked so hard to make the relationship work for all of us. And Olive's had a step-mum who's been on the scene for as long as I have, and it's kind of cool because I don't have any friends who are step-parenting, so it's nice to, to be able to talk to someone who's step-parenting the same child as you, because it's an interesting, it's a unique relationship. I feel such a deep paternal love for Olive. I feel so connected to her, but ultimately, that's not my kid. There are parts of her life which are right inside of my field of interest, but they're outside of my jurisdiction. And that will always be the case, because I will never have final say, because there's always a biological parent on hand. And it can be small, too. Like last week, we were at home and it was a school morning. Olive comes in 7 o'clock, which is when she can come into the room, and she's patting her tummy like this. And she says, "I can't go to school today. I got a sore tummy." But she said it quite chipper like that. And I say, "Well, no, I think I think you're fine. You're going to go to school today." And she goes, "No, but it's really sore." And I go, "Well, sit on the toilet, have some toast. We're going to school." But then Chelsea comes in, she says, "No, look, she's told us twice she's got a sore tummy. We should believe her. Oliver's okay. You don't have to go to school today." And I say, "That's cool. That's your prerogative. That's totally fine. But Olive, what, how old are you? 8? How long's school? 6, 7 hours? You're going to stay home for 6 or 7 hours pretending to have a sore tummy?" That's a long day. That's a long day at work. I live that life. That's no TV. That's just your brain. 6 or 7 hours. I'm going to be watching you like a hawk too. You better believe it. As it turns out, she was pretty sick. But how do I know that? I don't know that. The mums know that. And it's not even just small stuff. I love, Oliver's so different from how I was as a kid, and it's magic. I still love watching her collide with the things that I loved at her age. I always loved spelling, so I always liked trying to get her into spelling. Another school morning, I woke up at like 7:40, we'd all accidentally slept in, so I got straight out of bed, just still in my undies, went into the kitchen, started making breakfast, and then slowly Chelsea and Olive both sort of drift into the kitchen. They're both in, jammies, matching top and bottom, and they sit down at the table, and I'm cooking, and I'm just getting Olive to spell different breakfast foods. I get her to spell egg, and she hits EGG, hits it out of the park, hits that second G, no worries. I get her on milk, I get her on toast, just bang, hit after hit after hit. But then I give her pancake, and she spells pancake PANKAKE. And I think, whoa, that's close, but it's also wrong. Yeah, and to my credit, I tell her as much, but I could, the thing about that is you can really see her working, right? Because you think about the word pancake, what have we got? You got at the back end of the word pancake, second to last letter, you got a K doing a K's traditional work, lovely, tall little K, hard K sound. That's what K's do. That's just doing what K's do. But then you look 2 letters over, we got a C working a double shift. We got a C making exactly the same sound as the K. It doesn't make any sense. Why we got the C working a double shift, huh? Why have we got the hard C sound at all? C is a soft letter. You say it off the tongue. C, it's gentle. I'm suggesting we get rid of the hard C. You give all that work to the hard K. Let C concentrate on the soft stuff. You do have to be a little bit careful here, though, because, I don't know if you've noticed, S is covering a lot of the soft C shifts. And if we're not delicate, we could wind up putting C out of a job here. Now, need I remind you, C is one of our headline letters. I guarantee when you're thinking of letters, C is one of the first 3 letters you think of. And that's not by coincidence. The whole alphabet runs best to worst. That's just how they did it, Up top, all the stars are out. A, B, C, va-va-voom, and then you get down to the back end, it's a bunch of rejected geometric concepts that maths didn't want. They're like, pop them in the alphabet until maths thought of algebra, and they're like, nah, actually, we're going to need some of the freaks back. And as I'm explaining all of this to Olive, who is not interested, and she just cuts through it all. Mid-flow, she just cuts through me completely. And she goes, Monty, calls me Monty. She goes, Monty, why are you wearing your undies? And I go, oh, well, Olive, I guess, because I slept in my undies, and then I woke up, and we'd all slept in. I wanted to start making breakfast, so I just came straight into the kitchen, and I'm still in my undies. And she goes, well, because I'm in my jammies, and Mum is in her jammies, and you're in your undies. Your undies are your jammies. Okay, yeah, I suppose they are. And she says, that's silly. Which sounds, like a pretty innocuous put down. But what you have to bear in mind is our house has also fallen prey to political correctness having gone mad. And so what she says is, that's silly. But what she's calling me is a dumb cunt. And she's got paperwork to support her argument. She says, that's silly because you wore those undies yesterday. Then you wore those undies to bed. And now you're wearing those undies today. You need jammies. Jammies are for night. And I'm trying to create an argument to get my way out of this, but I'm sort of hamstrung by the very sound internal logic that she's put forth. And so I sort of try to wave it off. I just go, well, what about, I sleep in what I like and you sleep in what you like, and we'll just get on with our lives. And it sort of works, the conversation moves on, and Chelsea's on drop-off, so they head off out of their house. And it's sort of 9 o'clock now, and I'm just at home. I'm in the kitchen at the table by myself. I'm still in my undies, and I'm absolutely filthy. I am fuming about it, I cannot get past it. Because I've only owned one pair of jammies in my life before. My mum bought them for me when I was a kid. She bought them from Peter Alexander. I think that's an Australian store. The ones. Very, very expensive and also not very well designed jam. It's a win-win. It's a great business model. And she bought me the, and so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, look, I could actually, what am I going to do? I could actually take action here. I could go out today. I could find and buy a pair of jammies. Then later tonight at bedtime, do a big reveal, come out of the bedroom. I'm like, look, you were right. I got the jammies. So I look up where the nearest Peter Alexander store is. It's an hour and a half walk from home. And I think, it's a Tuesday. What have I got on? I can build a day around this. And so I make a plan. I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy the jammies. But I'm not a total maniac. I'm not going to buy a pair of I'm not going to buy my first pair of pajamas in 18 years in total sobriety. And so what I have is I would describe it as a small amount of weed. And it's a funny drug, weed. Anyone who's tried it will tell you the difference between smoking the right amount of weed and too much weed is invisible. But experientially, it's the difference between quite a nice walk and a panic attack. So, I'm sort of straddling this line as I'm walking to the mall, and I feel all right by the time I get to the mall. But once I'm inside, suddenly I feel very self-conscious. I think everyone knows I'm here for the jammies. They know I lost this fucking argument to a kid, But sure enough, they don't care. They're all buying juice or whatever. And so I go up to the Peter Alexander store, and I get in there, and there's no one else in there. I can't believe it. 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. You just assume this is rush hour at the jammy store. And the attendant comes over and she says to me, "Are you looking to buy some pajamas?" I had to slow down. I actually had to step back out of the store and reread the sign to make sure it said Peter Alexander and not Scotland Yard. I don't know why we got one of our great detective minds wasted on the floor of a pyjama store. And there are unsolved crimes in our country, but I say, yeah, I am. She goes, do you need any help? I go, no, I don't need any help. So I'm looking around, and sure enough, wall to wall, ceiling to floor, is an array of the worst looking sleepwear you've seen in your life. It's a total catastrophe. But I find there's a sales rack, and I find something, they're not exactly to my style, but they are in my size, and I take a look, and the price is right, $70, which seems cheap for pajamas on sale, right? $70. And I check the label, and they're quality. They're made in Indonesia, so we don't have to worry about that. These were not made by the clumsy sausage fingers of an adult. No, these were stitched together. And so I get the jammies off the rack, and I take them into the changing room, which I realise with hindsight is crazy. You don't try on jammies. But anyway, so get in the changing room, and I disrobe. And I think, before I continue with the anecdote, I just want to give you a little bit of context. I'll give you the autobiography of my life to this point, okay? And that would be this. I was born. No obstacles were put in front of me. And now I'm here. And so, I'm not overstating it when I say I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and it's damn near the lowest my self-esteem has ever been. I look like a boy and a pedophile, and I've got this attendant outside, and she's going, "Are you all right in there?" I can't tell her about the fucking disaster that's happening in here, and I don't have an exit strategy. I can't leave. I can't just leave. If I leave, that means I've spent a 5-hour round trip putting on a stranger's pair of pajamas. So I just get out, I take them to the counter, I swallow the cost. She puts them in that bag with that little dog in the bow tie. Like it's pointing its nose at me like a neon sign saying, "Check out this dickhead." And I walk out of the mall, and the whole morning has just slipped through my fingers. I walk out and I'm carrying this little bag of pajamas, and I'm thinking, how did I lose today so badly, And I really hate the pajamas. But I'm trying to talk myself, and I think, well, do you know what? It's actually okay. It's actually okay because, you might not like the jammies, but you like the gesture. Like, it's an act of love. I've bought these because I wanted to do something good. And I've bought them because I listen. And I pride myself on my listening. And that's not just in my family life either. That's in my day-to-day life. In my day-to-day life, you might be interested to hear, I like to think of myself as a feminist first, comedian second. Probably a misogynist third. No, I'm joking. I'm actually a big style ally, big ally up here. I'm such an ally. I'm one of the only guys I know. So do you all know about the Bechdel test? Have you heard of this? Yeah, if you don't know, Bechdel test, it's a test in cinema, tests the representation of women in film. And for a film to pass the Bechdel test, it has to feature 2 characters who are named, who are women, having a conversation about something that isn't a man. So, shopping, whatever. And even with these straightforward parameters, it's a surprisingly difficult test for a lot of these movies to pass. And I'm one of the only guys I know who every single day I set out to make sure my day passes the Bechdel test. Do you know how hard that is for a fella? Every morning I wake up, first thing I got to try and think of somebody that two women might be, and then I got to go there. I got to get close enough to hear them talking, hear their names, and hear them have a conversation about something which isn't a man, which is difficult these days because these broads are boy crazy. But the other day, I was in the park here, and there were these two women, I could hear them, and the first woman says, she says, "Hey, Carolyn," and the next woman says, "Yes, Susan," and I'm thinking, bingo. But then Susan says, she says, "Can you see that man in the bushes over there?" Just my luck. So I've got to come out of the bushes, dressed in full camouflage, mind you, say, ladies, can't you see I'm helping? I'm an ally. You know, I don't know what's going on with the state of society these days. You could literally be screaming at a woman that you're a feminist and still be the bad guy? Yeah, okay. I had to go in a cop car for that, I tell you, but it was okay. You know, there was 2 female officers, so it's not a wasted day yet. I could see the names on the uniform, you know, and we're getting into the car, and they're riding up front, and I'm in the back, and I'm okay with that. And you know, we're riding along, and I can see them talking. They're talking all right, but I cannot hear a word they're saying because of the divider. So I start banging on the glass. You know, there's a lot of people talking about the glass ceiling. Who's talking about the plexiglass partition? Just stopping an ally from helping out. I got last thing I say about it. I did have to go to court, and I got an attorney appointed for me who was a woman, and it was a lady judge too. I had both their names, 2 very intelligent women. You know, I'm thinking this could be on here, and then we get in there, and what do you think they chose to talk about? Can I catch a break out there? So I'm walking home, and I'm thinking about all this, and I think, well, you know, the pyjamas might have been a flop. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the pyjamas are a secret with me. But, you know, I don't need to do any of that crazy shit anymore. So I can just pass the Bechdel test by waking up. I mean, how lucky am I? The 2 people I love the most in the world, if I hear them talk, bang, the test is on. We've done it. And so I get home, I'm feeling okay about everything. And I get home about 1. I had no idea it was a half day at school. So I get home, I get up to the front door. I don't even get to put my key in the door. The door just opens, and Olive's standing there. And she doesn't look at me. She looks square at the bag. She goes, "What's in the bag?" And I go, "Oh, no, you don't need to know about the bag. Don't worry about the bag." You know, and then Chelsea says there's a bag. She comes screaming down the hallway. She sees the dog, and she goes, those are pyjamas. And Olive says, "Put them on." And so, yeah. I got to put on these pyjamas for a second time today, and so I got no, you know, I'm fucked here. So I go into the bedroom, I disrobe again, I put the pyjamas back on, you know, and I look in the mirror. They look worse, you know, these damn flattering mirrors at the Jamie store, you know, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I just need someone I love to tell me I look okay. Maybe these can be saved. But I get out into the lounge, and they're standing side by side. And never in my life have I seen either of these 2 laugh as hard as they do at my face. They are laughing so hard. They've both got asthma. They're risking their lives to get through this. They're laughing and laughing. In a minute, and Chelsea gets her inhaler and starts hitting it. Gives it to Olive. You know, Olive's on the inhaler. You know, they're 2 minutes in. They're laughing with their eyes shut and then opening their eyes to top up on what they're laughing at. You know, it's 2 to 3 minutes of just unrelenting laughter until they slow down. Olive's sort of catching her breath back, and after 3 minutes, she says, you know, you can just sleep in your undies, Monty. That's pretty good for 8. You know, and the show this year is called My Brain is Blowing Me Crazy, and I love naming the shows. It's one of my favourite things to do. And, like, I've got such good feedback on the show name this year, but it's been quite bittersweet because it's the one time I didn't name the show. We were having dinner one night, and we had Olive with us, and we had some friends over, and you know, I was holding court. I was doing my best. I was explaining to everyone exactly how much I'd paid for the fish, and also the harrowing story the fishmonger shared with me. And you know, no one's listening. And then Olive's definitely not listening. She just cuts through it all. She's trying to tell us about something that happened at school today. And what she's trying to say is, my mind is blown. But instead what she says is, my brain is blowing me crazy. You know, and it's just carnage. Everyone at the table, big laughs at the table, you know. And I'm a stand-up comedian, so I spend most days at home trying to think of one funny sentence. this 8-year-old just swans into dinner, births a brand new idiom, and that's very demoralising. What do you do in that situation? Well, I'll tell you what I did. I stole her material. She actually wrote the whole show. She's fantastic. Hey, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great night. I'll see you later.